Picture this. A giant, almost circular dome sprawling 40 kilometers across the Sahara. So massive it's visible from space, but it's not just its size that's mind-blowing. The Richat structure's beauty lies in its complexity, especially its mesmerizing concentric rings. These rings aren't your regular circles. They're like fingerprints, each one unique in width, composition, and how time and the elements have worn them down. It's as if nature itself was playing architect, crafting a masterpiece over millions of years through erosion.
It is a site that most people have never seen or heard of before, which is truly peculiar because it's so spectacular.
Wind and water have sculpted this dome layer by layer, revealing a range of rings that tell a story of resilience and transformation. Now let's delve into what makes up this stunning structure.
And what I'm focusing on is the lost capital city, which was said to be made up of concentric circles, 3 of water, 2 of land, which matches the Richat structure.
The outermost rings boast Proterozoic quartzite, a rock so tough and ancient it's been around for over 600 million years. Imagine that. Quartzite starts off as sandstone and undergoes a metamorphosis with heat and pressure, emerging as this incredibly hard rock. Move inward, and the materials shift to softer, sedimentary rocks like limestone, which forms in marine environments, and sandstone, composed of tiny mineral grains. At the heart of the Richat structure, there's a fascinating mix called siliceous breccia, essentially a jumble of angular rock fragments bonded together, often found in volcanic areas or places with a lot of geological action. The Richat structure is not just a feast for the eyes, it's a geologist's dream. The variety of rock types and the formation's history offer a rare glimpse into the Earth's geological processes. When you dive into the origins of the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, you're essentially unpacking a geological mystery that's been in the making for millions of years. At the heart of this mystery is the uplifted dome theory, which geologists lean towards when explaining how this stunning feature came to be. Imagine the Earth's crust getting a gentle nudge from below, creating a bulge on the surface. Over eons, wind and water went to work on this dome, chiseling away at it. But here's the catch, not all rocks are made the same. Some are tougher, others are softer, so they didn't all erode at the same pace. This selective erosion crafted the Richat structure's iconic concentric rings, each layer telling a story of resilience and time. But wait, there's a twist in the tale thanks to Jimmy Corsetti.
The question becomes, is it big enough to be a city with possibly millions of people? Because the way it was described is that it was a city that was said to be busy all day, all night, rich in trade, with languages spoken from all over.
He floats a rather intriguing idea that maybe, just maybe, ancient humans had a hand in sculpting the Richat structure. While this leans more towards speculation, it's a fascinating thought that adds a pinch of mystery to an already captivating story. Now let's talk about the Sahara Desert, the Richat structure's vast, arid home. This desert environment, with its relentless wind erosion, has been a key player in shaping the structure. But remember, the Sahara wasn't always a desert.
And what people don't realize is that Sahara Africa, up until about 4,500 to 5,000 years ago, was totally green.
It has seen its fair share of climatic roller coasters over millions of years, each phase leaving its mark on the rate and style of erosion at the site. The rocks at the Richat structure are ancient historians, some dating back over 600 million years, offering a glimpse into the Earth's early days, continental drifts, and the dawn of life. The creation of the Richat structure wasn't an overnight affair. It was a marathon of geological activity, from the shifting of tectonic plates to the whims of climate change, all contributing to the structure's unique appearance. Erosion played the role of the sculptor, methodically revealing the different layers of rock beneath. One of the most striking aspects of the Richat structure is its near-perfect circular pattern, a feature so distinctive that astronauts use it as a space landmark.
Even if you went to Mauritania, so you could see this from space, astronauts use it as a locator, and they weren't really familiar or aware of it until the Gemini missions in the early 1960s.
It's a mesmerizing pattern that stands out in the vastness of the Sahara. Plato's tales of Atlantis, nestled within his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, really do spark the imagination, don't they? Written in the 4th century BC, at a time when Athens was basking in its golden era of philosophy and culture, Plato wasn't just any philosopher. He was a master of exploring deep concepts about society, ethics, and the nature of reality itself. Through these dialogues, it's like he's engaging in a spirited chat, using his characters to weave through various ideas and viewpoints. Then there's Atlantis, this mythical island city that Plato claimed existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we commonly associate with the Strait of Gibraltar today. He didn't hold back on the details, portraying Atlantis as a gargantuan landmass, outstripping the size of Libya and Asia put together. The description of its layout is nothing short of fascinating, featuring a series of concentric rings of land and sea that would have required an extraordinary feat of engineering to construct, with its elaborate canals and bridges. At the core of Atlantis was its fertile central plain, a farmer's dream, encircled by towering mountains that offered both a wealth of resources and a natural fortress. But the allure of Atlantis extended beyond its geography. Plato painted a picture of a city flush with resources and technological prowess, boasting an abundance of metals like the enigmatic orichalcum, alongside gold and silver. The infrastructure was ahead of its time, complete with sophisticated water systems, majestic temples, grand palaces, and bustling docks. Yet Atlantis was more than its physical attributes. Plato envisioned a society with a rich tapestry of laws, traditions, and governance, underpinned by a formidable military might. However, as the narrative unfolds, Atlantis transitions from a utopian exemplar to a cautionary tale of corruption and decline, ultimately leading to its downfall. This story, layered with intricate details and moral undertones, continues to captivate and fuel the imagination, a testament to Plato's enduring legacy. While there's a resemblance to Plato's Atlantis, the geographical settings throw us for a loop. The Richat structure sits in the heart of the Sahara, far from the Atlantic Ocean, where Atlantis was said to be.
But another little detail that most people aren't aware of, because they think of Atlantis like, oh, it must be at the bottom of the ocean. Well, that's not exactly how Plato worded it. Like, a lot of people see the Sahara Desert, and they don't realize that this place was unbelievably different than it is today.
This discrepancy hasn't stopped theorists from suggesting that perhaps the Sahara's landscape was vastly different in the past, possibly even near water, or more hospitable than today's arid expanse. The Eye of the Sahara isn't just a geological wonder, it's a treasure trove of archaeological finds that shed light on ancient human life. Stone tools scattered around the area, including arrowheads, scrapers, and axes, tell tales of hunting and crafting. Pottery fragments whisper secrets of domestic life, indicating a significant leap in cultural and technological evolution. But it's the remnants of potential permanent settlements that really pique our curiosity, suggesting that this wasn't merely a waypoint for nomads, but a home for a settled community. The rock art adorning cliff faces and cave interiors near the Richat structure is nothing short of mesmerizing. These paintings and engravings, featuring animals like antelopes and elephants, transport us to a time when the Sahara thrived with life. Human figures and abstract designs depicted in these artworks offer glimpses into the social, cultural, and possibly spiritual lives of these ancient peoples. The rock art adorning cliff faces and cave interiors near the Richat structure is nothing short of mesmerizing. These archaeological discoveries are not just remnants of a bygone era, they're pieces of a puzzle that help us piece together the story of human existence and evolution in the Sahara. They speak of adaptation and resilience in the face of climatic shifts that transformed a once lush region into the vast desert we see today. The prospect of permanent settlements, while still under investigation, opens new chapters in the story of African prehistory, enriching our understanding of early human societies on this diverse continent. It's a testament to the power of the past, and how even the smallest clues can illuminate the vast tapestry of human history.
An example I often give is the Indus Valley civilization. Nobody actually knew that it existed until it was accidentally discovered while a railway was built. And then they found that there were these actually very, very sophisticated, very complex mud brick structures on a very large scale. Then they found that this culture had a language, a fully developed written script. We can't read that script. The script exists, but we can't read it.
The story of the Indus Valley civilization, one of the earliest cradles of urban life, reads like a mystery novel filled with climatic twists, geological turns, and the shadowy figures of invaders. As we dive deep into the annals of ancient history, this civilization's gradual fade from the vibrant urban entity It once was around 1900 BCE to mere remnants by 1300 BCE has puzzled scholars and history buffs alike. Let's explore some of the intriguing theories that have emerged over the years for why this civilization suddenly vanished. Imagine living in a city where the once reliable monsoon rains start becoming erratic around 2200 BCE. This wasn't just inconvenient, it was catastrophic. The Indus Valley people, whose agricultural prowess depended on these rains, faced reduced yields and possibly famine as a result. Imagine rivers, the lifelines of your trade and agriculture, changing course due to tectonic shifts. Cities that were once bustling hubs of trade and culture could no longer sustain their populations. This wasn't just about less water for crops. Entire trade routes were disrupted, especially those with Mesopotamia, putting further strain on an already struggling economy. Now add to this scenario the threat of earthquakes. These weren't just minor tremors, but possibly significant quakes that could alter river courses, destroy sophisticated drainage systems, and turn well-planned cities into inhabitable ruins. The very foundations of urban life were literally and figuratively shaken. For a time, the theory of an invasion by nomadic Aryans gained traction, suggesting a dramatic end to the Indus Valley civilization. This theory, rooted in ancient texts like the Rig Veda, depicted a clash between the invading nomads and the settled peoples of the Indus Valley. However, the absence of clear archaeological evidence of such an invasion suggests that the civilization's decline was more a slow burn than a sudden collapse. Amidst these external pressures, internal societal and economic factors were at play. The strain of maintaining extensive urban centers, alongside depleting resources, could have led to social unrest and made these cities unsustainable. As trade with distant lands dwindled, possibly due to emerging competitors or shifts in trade routes, the economic backbone of the civilization weakened. When the British were laying down the tracks for the Indian railway system in the 19th century, they stumbled upon something extraordinary: ruins made of well-crafted bricks in the Punjab region. Little did they know, these bricks were the remnants of the Indus Valley civilization, a society that had vanished thousands of years before. At first, these ancient bricks found a new purpose under the wheels of progress, quite literally being used in railway construction. It's a bit ironic when you think about it, an ancient civilization helping to lay the foundations for modern transportation, all while its own story was buried in oblivion. Enter Alexander Cunningham in the 1870s, a man who could be seen as a detective in the realm of history. As the founder of the Archaeological Survey of India, Cunningham was among the first to take a scholarly interest in these ruins. However, even with his reports, the true significance of what they had found wasn't fully grasped. The pieces of the puzzle were there, but the picture was yet to be seen. The plot thickens with Sir John Marshall, who took the helm of the ASI in the early 20th century. Under Marshall's direction, the ASI turned its gaze to the prehistoric past, setting the stage for a discovery that would challenge the narratives of urban civilization's origins. It was Daya Ramsani who, in 1921, began excavating at Harappa, and soon after, Rakal Das Banerjee laid bare the wonders of Mohenjo-daro. These sites revealed to the world a civilization of astonishing complexity and sophistication, with well-planned cities, advanced drainage systems, and a plethora of artifacts that spoke of a rich cultural life. The discoveries of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were like opening a window to an ancient world, showcasing the architectural and cultural achievements of the Indus Valley civilization. This was a society that had its unique script still undeciphered, and urban planning that could rival any contemporary city today. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, with its watertight construction, hinted at a society that placed significant emphasis on cleanliness and possibly ritual purification. As more archaeologists joined the fray, Ernest Mackay, Madho Sarup Vats, and Mortimer Wheeler to name a few, the knowledge of this ancient civilization expanded. Each excavation across the Indus Valley region brought new insights. The narrative of the Indus Valley civilization challenged the then prevailing notion that complex urban life began solely with Mesopotamia and Egypt. Here was evidence of a parallel society that had flourished and then, for reasons still debated, declined and disappeared, leaving behind a legacy buried under the earth. Let's take a stroll back in time to explore Harappa, a city that once thrived in what's now the Punjab province of Pakistan. This ancient metropolis wasn't just any old city, it was a cornerstone of the Indus Valley civilization, bustling with life between 2600 BCE and 1900 BCE. The story of Harappa's discovery is as fascinating as the city itself. Initially spotted during the 19th century, it wasn't until the British were laying down railway tracks in the 1850s that Harappa began to reveal its secrets. Ironically, bricks from this ancient city were used in the construction of the railway, unknowingly dismantling a piece of history for the sake of progress. Fast forward to the 1920s, when Sir John Marshall and his team of archaeologists took a closer look and realized Harappa was part of something much bigger. They uncovered a city so advanced it would rewrite our understanding of urban planning in ancient times. Imagine walking through streets laid out in a perfect grid, with main roads up to 30 feet wide intersecting at right angles. This wasn't a haphazard settlement. It was a city built with precision and forethought, showcasing remarkable engineering skills. Harappa's infrastructure was nothing short of revolutionary. The city boasted an advanced drainage system, with covered drains along the main streets and smaller ones connecting from individual homes. This emphasis on cleanliness and public health is something many modern cities could learn from, and the buildings, all constructed with standardized baked bricks, stood as a testament to the Harappans' knowledge of materials engineering, giving the city a unified look. But Harappa wasn't just about impressive streets and sanitation. The city was alive with bustling granaries, which were central to its food storage and distribution system. These weren't just any granaries. They were massive structures located near the city's heart, hinting at a well-organized governance system that ensured the population was well-fed. Diving into the everyday lives of Harappans, we find a society that valued comfort and cleanliness. Houses, ranging from simple dwellings to more elaborate homes, often had their own wells and bathrooms. This level of domestic luxury suggests a society where social stratification was present, but also one that placed a high importance on individual welfare. And then there are the artifacts, the seals engraved with animal figures and an undeciphered script that hint at a complex system of communication, trade, administration, or perhaps even ritual. The pottery and tools unearthed in Harappa, from utility wares to beautifully decorated pieces, reflect the diverse occupations and crafts practiced in the city, painting a picture of a vibrant, bustling community. Harappa was more than just a city. It was a beacon of urban civilization, showcasing advancements that were unparalleled for its time. Its discovery and excavation have not only provided us with a glimpse into ancient urban life, but also challenged our perceptions of ancient civilizations and their capabilities. Nestled in the Sindh province of Pakistan lies Mohenjo-daro, a site that's not just an archaeological treasure but a testament to the architectural genius of the Indus Valley civilization. This city, one of the most iconic remnants of ancient urban life, gives us a sneak peek into the lives of its people, their societal structure, and their unparalleled urban planning. The city was cleverly divided into two main areas: the lower city, bustling with residential and commercial life, and the Acropolis, where public and ceremonial buildings stood. This division speaks volumes about the level of organization and planning that went into Mohenjo-daro. It wasn't just a cluster of buildings, it was a thoughtfully laid out city, designed for efficiency and order, with distinct zones dedicated to different aspects of daily life. But let's talk about the Great Bath, the crown jewel of Mohenjo-daro. Imagine a large, watertight pool, meticulously constructed for religious purification rituals. Surrounded by corridors and rooms, the Great Bath wasn't just an architectural marvel. It was a central piece of the city's spiritual and communal life, emphasizing the importance of water not just for survival, but as a sacred element in their culture. The people of Mohenjo-daro were master craftsmen, their skills shining through in the intricate beadwork, finely crafted metal objects, and beautiful pottery discovered at the site. These artifacts were not merely utilitarian. They bore the marks of artistic excellence and possibly held deeper symbolic meanings for their creators. The variety and quality of these items suggest a society that valued not only function, but form and beauty, integrating them into their everyday lives. Moreover, Mohenjo-daro was a bustling economic center. The numerous seals, weights, and measures found among the ruins hint at a complex economy that thrived on both local and long-distance trade. This was a city that was not isolated. It was connected, engaging in commerce with distant lands, showcasing its economic prowess and its role as a significant player in the ancient world. Mohenjo-daro, with its advanced urban planning and sophisticated architectural elements, stands as a shining example of the ingenuity of the Indus Valley civilization. Beneath the sands of modern-day Sudan and southern Egypt lies the story of a civilization whose architectural prowess rivaled that of the ancient Egyptians, the Nubians.
I think we're looking at hints and clues that something is missing in our story.
Known for constructing more pyramids than their northern neighbors, the Nubians created a kingdom of extraordinary wealth, culture, and power. But as the tides of history shifted, their grand structures were gradually reclaimed by the desert, and their story obscured by the sands of time.
I want to know what else is going to be found that hasn't been investigated yet at all. We're just touching the edge of a huge mystery.
Where did this great civilization go? And what secrets do their ancient cities and towering pyramids still hold? The Nubian civilization, nestled along the Nile River in what is now Sudan and southern Egypt, stands as one of Africa's oldest and most fascinating civilizations.
A great civilization that had been destroyed and that had left some survivors who had come to Egypt.
With a history that stretches back to the Neolithic period, Nubia is celebrated for its complex social structure, advanced architectural prowess, and dynamic interactions with ancient Egypt. The story of Nubia's exploration and its archaeological significance unfolds with intriguing depth, particularly when considering its ties to Egypt. During the 19th century, as European powers expanded their reach across Africa, scholars and archaeologists often accompanied colonial expeditions, initially focusing on the pharaonic marvels of Egypt due to their spectacular allure and global fascination. However, these explorers soon ventured into modern-day Sudan, where they uncovered the rich heritage of Nubia.
Yes, there's been some archaeology in the Sahara Desert, but not very much.
Richard Lepsius, a pioneering German Egyptologist, was one of the first to document Nubian antiquities extensively during his Prussian expedition from 1842 to 1845. His meticulous records and sketches provided a detailed overview of Nubian archaeological wealth, charting numerous sites including temples, tombs, and entire settlements previously unknown to the broader scholarly community. Yet these early explorations were not without their challenges. Adventurers faced harsh climates and political instability, and their initial perceptions of Nubia were often clouded by colonial biases, frequently underestimating the sophistication of the Nubian civilization in comparison to their northern neighbors, the Egyptians. Nubia's relationship with Egypt was marked by periods of both conflict and cooperation, with Nubian kings at times dominating Egypt, especially during the 25th dynasty, also known as the Nubian dynasty. This era is crucial for understanding the significant influence Nubians had on Egyptian politics, culture, and religion. Pharaoh Taharqa, a notable ruler of this dynasty, oversaw an era of considerable architectural and cultural achievements, with extensive building projects in both Egypt and Nubia. His contributions in Thebes and Karnak, showcasing a blend of Egyptian and Nubian artistic styles, are particularly well documented. The rediscovery of the Nubian dynasty has been pivotal, highlighting the Nubians not just as conquerors but as integrators who significantly enhanced the Egyptian state's infrastructure and cultural life. Turning our gaze to a broader horizon, comparing Nubia and Mesopotamia offers fascinating parallels. Both civilizations flourished around mighty rivers, the Nile for Nubia and the Tigris-Euphrates for Mesopotamia, providing the fertile ground that supported dense populations and the development of complex societies. Just as Nubia interacted with Egypt, Mesopotamia had dynamic relationships with its neighbors, engaging in both cultural exchanges and military conflicts. Architecturally, while Nubia is renowned for its pyramids and monumental temples, Mesopotamia is credited with the development of ziggurats and the pioneering use of brick as a primary building material. Both regions also developed their writing systems, with cuneiform in Mesopotamia and Meroitic scripts in Nubia, which were vital for administrative, religious, and cultural expressions, remaining crucial for archaeologists and historians in understanding these ancient societies.
If you wish to pass information to a distant future, you wouldn't be smart to just write it down. How can we know that our script is going to be readable by any other culture, let's say 10,000 years in the future?
George Reisner's pioneering archaeological work in Nubia at the beginning of the 20th century has dramatically enhanced our understanding of the ancient Kingdom of Kush, shedding light on a civilization that was at various times a rival and a partner to ancient Egypt. As a professor at Harvard University, Reisner was dispatched by the Harvard University Museum of Fine Arts Boston expedition to delve into the historical mysteries of Egypt and Nubia. His investigations in Nubia were among the first to apply scientific archaeological methods in the region, establishing new standards for documenting the excavation process that would influence future archaeological endeavors. One of Reisner's most groundbreaking efforts was his excavation of Kerma, which he identified as a key cultural and political hub of the Kingdom of Kush. This discovery was particularly significant as Kerma's importance had previously been overshadowed by more well-known Egyptian sites. At Kerma, the most striking find was the Defa, a towering mud brick structure that remains one of the largest and oldest of its kind in the world. Reisner suggested that the Defa served a religious and possibly administrative function, a topic that continues to spark debate among scholars regarding its specific role. Further excavations at the royal cemeteries in Kerma unearthed a wealth of information about the burial customs of the Kushite elite. The tombs revealed a rich array of grave goods, including pottery, gold, and bronze artifacts, which spoke of a highly sophisticated culture with expansive trade networks. Additionally, evidence of human sacrifices at these sites suggested that the Kushites engaged in complex funerary rituals, underscoring the depth of their religious beliefs. The layout of Kerma, as uncovered by Reisner, indicated a highly organized urban center, complete with residential areas, production centers, and extensive fortifications. This insight provided a new perspective on the urban planning and architectural sophistication of the Kushite civilization, challenging the then prevailing notion that Nubian culture was perpetually subordinate to that of ancient Egypt. Instead, Reisner's findings highlighted the distinctiveness of the Nubian civilization and its ability to influence and control vast territories, including parts of Egypt at various times. Reisner's systematic approach to excavation and his rigorous documentation practices set new benchmarks in the field of archaeology. He was a pioneer in using stratigraphy for dating purposes, which allowed for a more accurate understanding of the chronological sequence of the sites he excavated. The legacy of his work continues to serve as a foundational resource for subsequent research on Nubia, inspiring generations of archaeologists to further explore the complexities of Nubian history and its interconnections with other ancient civilizations. As we continue to unravel the intricacies of this ancient society, Reisner's contributions remain invaluable, providing a robust framework for understanding not only Nubia's past, but also the broader narratives of ancient world histories. The rediscovery of Nubian pyramids and the archaeological efforts to save Nubian heritage in the wake of the Aswan High Dam's construction have provided profound insights into this ancient civilization.
Archaeology is often driven by accidental finds.
Yeah.
Maybe a road is going to be built, maybe a railway is going to be built. A lot of archaeological discoveries are made as a result of that.
Nubian pyramids offer a stark contrast to their Egyptian counterparts. These structures are characterized by their steep and narrow sides and much smaller bases, ranging from approximately 6 to 30 meters across, unlike Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza, which spans over 230 meters at its base. Constructed with stepped courses of horizontally laid stone blocks, Nubian pyramids typically feature a small chapel at the base facing east, housing offerings and a stele with inscriptions about the deceased. The burial practices within these pyramids reveal a lot about the Nubians. These pyramids were not just final resting places, but also a testament to the wealth and power of the Kushite royalty and elites, reflecting a hierarchy and religious practices influenced by, yet distinct from, Egyptian traditions. Moreover, the art and hieroglyphic inscriptions on the walls of these pyramids offer critical insights into the religious beliefs and daily life of the Kushites, often including prayers and spells similar to those found in Egyptian texts, but adapted to local contexts and deities, highlighting the syncretic nature of Nubian religion. Continuing on the theme of comparisons, looking at Nubian and Mayan pyramids side by side offers fascinating insights. Both civilizations built pyramids, yet their purposes and designs reflect different cultural priorities and environmental conditions. Nubian pyramids, primarily serving as tombs for royalty, featured steep sides and narrow bases and were constructed of stone. In contrast, Mayan pyramids, often broader and less steep, served primarily religious purposes, hosting rituals and sacrifices at their summits, often accessible via a series of steps. Have you ever heard of a civilization that rivaled ancient Egypt, but vanished without a trace?
A great civilization that had been destroyed and that had left some survivors who had come to Egypt.
Deep in the heart of Africa, which boasts the world's oldest human artifacts, lies the forgotten Kingdom of Kerma. These enigmatic people built massive structures called defufas, but their purpose remains a mystery. Join us as we explore the fascinating history. Kerma Defufa, located near the third cataract of the Nile in what is now northern Sudan, is a significant archaeological site featuring a large mud brick temple known as the Defufa. This impressive structure dates back to around 2500 to 1500 BCE, standing about 18 meters high with a base measuring approximately 50 meters by 25 meters. The term Defufa is derived from the Nubian word for mud brick building, reflecting its construction material and technique. The modern archaeological investigation of Kerma began with George Reisner, a Harvard University archaeologist, who started his groundbreaking work in 1913. Reisner's discoveries at Kerma reshaped our understanding of this ancient Nubian civilization, uncovering a vast urban center with extensive burial grounds and a wealth of artifacts.
I want to know what else is going to be found that hasn't been investigated yet at all. We're just touching the edge of a huge mystery.
His findings indicated that Kerma was not just a peripheral settlement, but a major urban center. The artifacts he found, including elaborately decorated pottery, finely crafted statues, and gold jewelry, suggested that Kerma was a significant center of artistic and cultural production, rivaling contemporary Egyptian cities in its complexity and wealth. Continuing Reisner's work, Swiss archaeologist Charles Bonnet began his excavations in the 1970s, which further expanded our knowledge of Kerma's sophisticated society. Bonnet's team unearthed royal tombs adorned with offerings such as ebony and ivory, highlighting the wealth and power of Kerma's rulers. The layout of residential areas revealed a well-organized urban planning system with distinct sectors for various social classes, and the discovery of organized grave sites containing human sacrifices suggested complex spiritual beliefs. These practices, possibly revolving around ancestor worship or the divine nature of kingship, are reminiscent of those observed in other ancient civilizations like the Aztecs.
I believe that it's worth considering the possibility of a remote common ancestor, which passed down key information that was inherited by later cultures.
Kerma's relationship with ancient Egypt provides an intriguing comparison. While both were Nile Valley civilizations, they developed distinct architectural styles and societal structures. Unlike Egypt's hierarchical and theocratic society, evidenced by monumental stone architecture like pyramids, Kerma's use of large mud brick buildings reflects a possibly more communal and egalitarian social structure. This difference is underscored by the different materials and building techniques, yet both civilizations achieved architectural durability and complexity.
I can't help thinking time capsule, that there was an intention to preserve this.
A compelling theory about Kerma's rise to prominence centers on its strategic location, which made it a crucial trade hub between sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean world. This position likely enabled Kerma to control trade routes, exchanging local goods such as gold, ivory, incense, and exotic animal skins for Egyptian grain, wine, and linen. This vibrant trade not only brought economic prosperity, but also facilitated cultural exchange, contributing significantly to the city's development. Continuing from the fascinating historical insights into Kerma's development, the architecture displayed in the Defufa is equally captivating and speaks volumes about the ingenuity of ancient Nubian civilization. The Defufa, a massive mud brick structure that has stood the test of time, remains one of the most enigmatic monuments in African history. Built entirely from mud bricks, its preservation is particularly impressive considering the vulnerability of the material to erosion. The main structure of the Defufa measures about 50 meters in length and 25 meters in width, rising approximately 18 meters high. This monumental size makes it a dominant feature in the flat landscape of the region. The construction technique involved using local Nile mud mixed with straw, which was then sun-dried, The walls are notably thick, some several meters wide, which not only adds to the building's stability, but also its defensive capabilities. The Defufa's internal structure is divided into 3 main platforms, each potentially serving different functions. The first platform may have been used for public ceremonies or gatherings, the second for more exclusive rituals or administrative activities, and the topmost platform likely held sanctuaries or spaces reserved for the elite of Kerma society. Adding to its complexity, the Defufa featured external staircases, a rare element in Nubian architecture, that facilitated access to its various levels, indicating a sophisticated internal hierarchy. The strategic orientation and placement of the Defufa might have also served astronomical purposes, such as marking solstices or equinoxes, a feature common in other ancient monumental structures across the globe.
On the summer solstice, you're going to see the sun rising far to the north of east. Go there on the winter solstice, you're going to see it far to the south of east.
This architectural giant was not just an isolated structure, it was a central hub for the cultural, political, and religious activities of the Kerma culture. Its towering presence, visible for miles around, not only symbolized the authority and centralized power of Kerma's rulers, but likely also served navigational purposes along the Nile. The religious significance of the Defufa cannot be understated. It was likely a place where rituals were performed to ensure the fertility of the land or the prosperity of the people, effectively integrating the community's spiritual life with its leadership. When comparing the Defufa with the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia, both structures share similarities in materials and multi-leveled designs. However, while ziggurats were primarily religious temples, the Defufa's design suggests it combined defensive, administrative, and ceremonial functions, indicating a nuanced approach to public structures in Nubian society compared to Mesopotamian traditions, where a clearer separation between the sacred and administrative was observed. Turning our attention from the architectural marvels of ancient Nubia to the mysterious landscapes of West Africa, we encounter the enigmatic Senegambian stone circles. These remarkable megalithic sites, distributed across the northwestern edge of Senegal and central Gambia, span a vast area from the River Gambia to the River Saloum, covering about 30,000 square kilometers. Notable sites such as Wassou and Kerbach in the Gambia and Siningayen in Senegal draw the curious and the scholarly alike. The physical characteristics of these stone circles are as fascinating as their distribution. Each circle comprises between 10 to 24 stones made from laterite, a dense iron-rich rock. These stones, roughly cylindrical and standing about 1 to 2 meters high, are often organized in concentric circles or double circles, creating a striking visual impact on the landscape. The stone circles first came to broader recognition through the accounts of European travelers in the mid-19th century, but it wasn't until the 20th century that systematic archaeological investigations began. Gambian historian Aliou Ebrima Cham Diouf played a crucial role in documenting these sites extensively during the mid-1900s, advocating for their preservation. His efforts paved the way for more detailed studies. In the 1970s, significant strides in understanding these formations were made through the work of researchers like Pierre Tilloy. These archaeological excavations helped clarify the chronology and cultural significance of the stone circles, revealing a complex societal structure that had the capacity to coordinate the construction of these monumental works. The discovery of these societal structures reshaped our understanding of the prehistoric cultures of West Africa, indicating advanced social organization and cultural sophistication.
Our understanding of prehistory must change.
In recognition of their significant cultural value, UNESCO designated the Senegambian stone circles as a World Heritage Site in 2006. This recognition not only highlights their importance on a global scale, but also has spurred increased archaeological interest and conservation efforts. The continued exploration and preservation of these stone circles help ensure that the legacy of West Africa's prehistoric cultures continues to inform and inspire future generations. Archaeological excavations have confirmed that the circles primarily served as burial sites, with human remains often found at the center of these circles, accompanied by various artifacts such as pottery, iron tools, and jewelry. These findings indicate a belief in an afterlife and the practice of offering goods to the deceased, highlighting the deep spiritual and cultural dimensions of the societies that built them. Beneath the scorching sun and swirling sands of the Sahara Desert, lies a city whose very name invokes mystery and wonder, Timbuktu. Once a beacon of trade, knowledge, and wealth, today it is known by few, understood by even fewer. Yet, Timbuktu is not just a relic of the past. It is a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. But how did this fabled city come to be? How could a thriving center of wealth and knowledge emerge in the heart of a seemingly inhospitable desert?
Timbuktu has different phases within its existence, and all of the groups participated in the different phases of development.
Our journey begins in the early 14th century, during the reign of the Malian emperor Mansa Musa. His wealth was so immense that his pilgrimage to Mecca reportedly devalued gold in regions he passed through. Yet Musa's most enduring legacy was not his riches, it was the flourishing of Timbuktu, a city destined to become a hub for commerce and scholarship. The first mystery of Timbuktu, however, lies not in its origin, but in what was discovered centuries later. In the early 19th century, European explorers, lured by tales of an elusive golden city, crossed the Sahara in search of wealth. What they found, instead, was an ancient city built from colossal blocks of stone and mud brick. Structures like the Jingwereber Mosque and Sankore University stood as monumental testaments to human craftsmanship, their towers defying the desert's harsh elements for centuries. The first question emerges here: how were these structures built? Some of the stones used in Timbuktu's buildings weighed up to 2 tons and were transported from quarries more than 30 miles away. Modern engineers remain puzzled by how this was achieved without advanced machinery. How could ancient builders move such massive stones across the unforgiving landscape of the Sahara? Did they possess knowledge that modern civilization has lost? This mystery is the first clue to Timbuktu's mysterious past. An engineering prowess seemingly out of place in a desert that by all accounts should have made such construction impossible.
They found that there were these actually very, very sophisticated, very complex mud brick structures on a very large scale.
But as we look deeper into Timbuktu's history, we discover something even more astonishing. By the 15th century, Timbuktu had become a thriving intellectual hub, housing some of the greatest libraries in the world. Manuscripts covering subjects such as astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and law were studied and preserved here. Scholars from across the Islamic world traveled to this remote city, transforming it into a center of learning that rivaled some of the greatest educational institutions of the time. And yet, one question lingers. How did such an intellectual center thrive in a place so isolated?
It became an intellectual center because the scholars generally were traveling with the caravans.
Was it simply Timbuktu's strategic location along trade routes, or could there be something more? Some researchers believe that Timbuktu's placement precisely at the edge of the Sahara and along the Niger River may have held deeper significance. Could ancient civilizations have chosen this location based on an advanced understanding of geography or even astronomy? A provocative theory suggests that Timbuktu might lie on one of the Earth's natural energy pathways, ley lines, that have been revered by ancient cultures across the world. Could its success as a city of knowledge and wealth have been linked to its placement on one of these energy nodes? As we ponder these questions, another mystery unfolds. Recent discoveries have revealed that many of the original manuscripts from Timbuktu's libraries, some dating back over 700 years, are missing. Where did they go? Were they destroyed or were they stolen? Whispers of a conspiracy emerge here, an organized effort perhaps by European colonial powers to seize and suppress Timbuktu's ancient knowledge. Some believe the manuscripts were hidden by local scholars to protect them from invaders, and that their secrets remain buried, known only to a select few. Today, historians and treasure hunters alike search for these lost manuscripts, hoping to unlock the wisdom they contain. But this brings us to an even greater mystery. What exactly was in these manuscripts? Could they have contained knowledge that the world wasn't ready for? Advanced technologies or philosophies that challenged the dominant worldviews of their time?
I want to know what else is going to be found that hasn't been investigated yet at all. We're just touching the edge of a huge mystery.
Were these manuscripts lost to history or intentionally kept from the world? As we explore these questions, we are reminded that Timbuktu's story is not just about the past. It is a cautionary tale about the fragility of human progress. What knowledge have we, as a civilization, lost over the millennia? Could the lost wisdom of Timbuktu have changed the course of human history? As we dive deeper into the story of Timbuktu, an unsettling thought begins to emerge. What if the true wealth of this city was not in gold, but in knowledge? And what if that knowledge was too dangerous for the world to possess? Timbuktu's scholars compiled manuscripts on topics ranging from astronomy to medicine, from theology to mathematics. By the 15th century, Timbuktu housed an estimated 700,000 manuscripts, forming one of the largest intellectual archives of the time. But here's where the mystery deepens. Much of this vast collection has vanished. Entire libraries were raided, collections disappeared, and even today, many manuscripts remain unaccounted for. Some of the surviving texts mention ideas that seem far ahead of their time, such as advanced mathematical concepts and detailed astronomical observations. There are even cryptic references to knowledge of the cosmos that surpasses what we believed was understood in the 14th and 15th centuries. Could it be that Timbuktu's scholars possessed knowledge far beyond what we know today? And if so, who or what was responsible for the suppression of this information? Some researchers point to the colonial history of Africa. As European powers began their conquest of the continent in the 19th century, they systematically dismantled much of the region's cultural heritage. And there are rumors that the French in particular seized many manuscripts from Timbuktu and shipped them back to Europe. Others suggest that these texts were deliberately hidden or destroyed because they contained information that could challenge the scientific revolution taking place in Europe. The truth remains elusive, but what we do know is that Timbuktu's intellectual legacy has only been partially uncovered. Many of the remaining manuscripts are locked away in private collections, deteriorating from neglect. Could these hidden texts hold the answers to the mysteries that still surround Timbuktu? But the intrigue does not end with the manuscripts. Archaeologists working in the region have uncovered ruins of other ancient cities near Timbuktu, suggesting the area was part of a larger, interconnected civilization. Some of the stones used in Timbuktu's structures weigh several tons and were transported from quarries miles away. How could these feats of engineering have been accomplished without modern machinery? And could there be a connection between the builders of Timbuktu and the ancient Egyptians? Adding to the mystery, some of these structures remain unfinished, as though the builders abruptly stopped their work. Why would a city so rich in knowledge and wealth suddenly fall into decline? Environmental changes may provide part of the answer. As the Sahara continued to expand, trade routes shifted, and the resources that once sustained Timbuktu dwindled. But others suggest that external forces may have played a role. Some theorists argue that jealous foreign powers or even secret societies conspired to bring about the city's downfall. One of the most persistent theories involves the lost riches of Timbuktu. According to legend, Mansa Musa's wealth wasn't only in gold. He may have possessed ancient artifacts and manuscripts from a forgotten civilization. Some believe that these treasures remain hidden beneath the city, waiting to be discovered. Could Timbuktu's greatest secret be something far more valuable than gold? As we conclude our journey, one thing is clear: Timbuktu's mysteries are far from solved. What knowledge was lost, and why? What still lies hidden beneath centuries of sand and secrecy? Recent efforts to preserve Timbuktu's heritage have been met with both success and challenge. Instability in the region and the harsh desert climate threaten the remnants of the city's once great libraries. Yet, new archaeological techniques such as ground-penetrating radar have revealed that entire sections of the city may still be buried. Could these hidden chambers hold the answers to the questions we've been seeking? Or could they contain even greater secrets? Secrets that could reshape our understanding of history, civilization, and the very nature of knowledge.
Imagine thriving cities humming with trade, homes filled with families, and a bustling marketplace. Now, in the blink of an eye, picture it all buried, not by volcanic ash like Pompeii, but by the sands of time. The Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's oldest urban societies, harbored a flourishing culture along the banks of the Indus River. Then, mysteriously, they vanished, leaving behind enigmatic ruins and unanswered questions. Was their disappearance as sudden and calamitous as Pompeii's? Or did a slower, more insidious fate seal their destiny? You might think archaeologists always know what they're looking for, but sometimes the most fascinating discoveries come from stumbling across the unexpected. That's the story of the Indus Valley civilization. Back in the 1800s, explorers in India's northwest region noticed some mysterious ruins and old bricks around a place called Harappa. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time. They figured these were the remains of some relatively recent settlement. Imagine their surprise when the real age of the site was revealed. Decades went by with no major breakthroughs, but in the 1920s, a new Director General took over India's archaeological efforts, Sir John Marshall. This guy was determined, and he kicked off organized excavations at those mysterious Harappa ruins. Surprise, surprise, this wasn't anything recent. Marshall and his team unearthed the first solid evidence of an entire unknown civilization and another massive city called Mohenjo-daro. Think meticulously planned streets, buildings with indoor plumbing, and even a complex drainage system that modern-day city planners could probably learn from. The discoveries were mind-blowing. Think massive granaries suggesting organized food storage, public baths that would rival a modern water park, and workshops indicating specialized crafts within the civilization. And those seals, the ones with an unfamiliar script and animal figures etched onto them, hinted at trade, record-keeping, and maybe even early forms of writing. The more they dug, the more it seemed the Indus Valley civilization was far more advanced than anyone imagined. As time went on, even bigger sites like Lothal popped up, showing us how widespread their influence was. With artifacts turning up that looked suspiciously similar to ones from Mesopotamia, it became clear the people here weren't isolated. They had trade networks stretching for miles. Fast forward to today, and technology is making things even wilder. Using aerial photography and ground-penetrating radar, we can map out these cities with incredible detail. Scientists are even analyzing everything from pollen to teeth to piece together what the environment was like, and how these ancient people farmed, moved goods, and maybe even how their diets changed. It's amazing what we can find hidden in the dirt. Imagine yourself walking the streets of an ancient city, but instead of chaotic jumbles of buildings, you see an organized world with wide avenues laid out in a perfect grid. That's what the Indus Valley people built in cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, planned communities that predate most other civilizations by centuries. It's honestly impressive, especially when you realize they used standardized bricks, like ancient Legos, making everything neat and uniform. Plus those covered drains along the streets, a major upgrade from the open ditches you'd find in a lot of early cities, and proof that these folks cared about hygiene. The cities weren't just efficient, they also seem to have grasped the idea of zoning. Houses in their own area, administrative buildings looking important on a raised mound, and commercial zones bustling with activity. It's not so different from how we separate residential and business districts today. This organized approach likely made life easier for the inhabitants, allowing them to move easily through their cities. They may have even known a thing or two about building with the climate in mind. Archaeologists think streets and houses could have been oriented to catch breezes or make the most of sunlight, showing a surprising grasp of how to make their cities more livable. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro is the ultimate symbol of their ingenuity. It was massive, built on that central mound like it was the most important place in the city, and the engineering behind it is mind-blowing. Each brick was precisely shaped. The walls and floor were waterproofed with some seriously sticky tar, and they had a whole system of pipes bringing in water and taking out the used stuff. Think of it like a mix between an ancient Olympic pool and a Roman-style public bath, a place where rituals and social gatherings may have blended together. It's amazing that this structure survived for so long. The Great Bath gives us a detailed peek into how they constructed things and how they managed to make their cities function in surprisingly modern ways. It begs the question, what other marvels from ancient times are out there, just waiting to be unearthed? The folks in cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro built their storehouses with the big picture in mind. They knew a well-stocked granary meant a fed and happy city. Those raised platforms weren't just for show. They kept the grain safe from rats and dampness. Plus, they had these clever air vents throughout, almost like a primitive air conditioning system to keep everything fresh. It's honestly pretty genius, and definitely not how most other ancient societies were storing their food. The size of these granaries is seriously impressive. They weren't just stashing a few bushels for themselves. These cities were ready to manage a whole surplus of grain. That means organized farming, trade routes, and probably some solid record-keeping to make it all work. We even have remnants of a sophisticated drainage and sanitation system right in the granary district. These people were meticulous planners. But let's talk about defense. Indus Valley cities had their own version of a fortress-think raised areas called citadels. Maybe a bit like a medieval castle on a hill, these imposing structures likely served as a place where the important stuff, and important people, could retreat if times got rough. Then there were the massive city walls, which were meant to keep out both floods and any unwelcome visitors. The funny thing is, though, there isn't much evidence of actual warfare in the Indus Valley. Makes you wonder if those walls were more for show, a kind of "don't even think about messing with us" statement. Now here's something truly mind-blowing. The dockyard at Lothal. It's like stepping back in time and seeing how seriously these people took seafaring. Imagine a bustling harbor scene, ships coming in, cargo being moved, a whole network of trade happening right before your eyes. With this dock, they were connected to distant lands like Mesopotamia, trading not just stuff, but ideas and culture too. Think about how impressive this engineering is. They built a whole dock system to manage tides. Fired bricks created a sturdy structure. These weren't just lashing some boats together. They knew the water, planned for its movements, and built something that lasted thousands of years. Who knows how much we can learn from their successes, even when it comes to building our own modern ports and managing trade today. It's wild how two ancient cities, so far apart and with totally different fates, can still tell us so much about how people lived thousands of years ago. The thing that really sticks out when you compare Mohenjo-daro and Pompeii is how organized both were. Mohenjo-daro had an almost modern-looking grid system, built with precision and focused on keeping things flowing smoothly. It's clear that they put a lot of thought into things like water management and hygiene, which wasn't always the case back then. Pompeii, on the other hand, still had organization, but with a bit more of that Roman flair. Their streets had a curve to them, leading the eye toward important places. It was more about making a statement while still being functional. The buildings themselves are another huge difference. Mohenjo-daro was primarily brick, solid and practical, while Pompeii had that classic Roman mix of stone and concrete, embellished with all sorts of beautiful artwork. It makes you wonder who lived in these cities. Mohenjo-daro is still kind of mysterious, almost like everyone was more or less on the same level. But with Pompeii, you can see the different social classes reflected in the houses, from the huge, colorful villas of the rich to the smaller homes and workshops of everyday Romans. You can't help but picture the hustle and bustle, the politicians in the forum, the customers in the shops, all frozen in time by the volcano. Mohenjo-daro had art too, of course. Think seals with intricate carvings and pottery with all sorts of fascinating designs. But Pompeii takes it to the next level with colorful frescoes on the walls, mosaics in the floors, and statues everywhere, like walking through an ancient art gallery. Their endings couldn't be more different. Mohenjo-daro kind of faded away, with historians still trying to figure out exactly why. Was it a shifting river, a drought, a trade route changing? Pompeii, well, we know what happened there, a catastrophic eruption that buried the city in ash, but also preserved it incredibly well. It's both tragic and strangely beautiful. In the end, they're both pieces of the giant, messy puzzle of human history. Mohenjo-daro shows us a society that valued function and planning, while Pompeii is a burst of Roman culture and chaos. And the fact that we're still uncovering the secrets of both, that's what makes archaeology so fascinating.